Welcome to our next episode of the Push to Dream Show. We have a special guest today, and it's Miss Pamela Reaves. She is one of the co founders of the Truth Unfiltered. Do her face look familiar to any of you? Well, we are going to hear her beautiful story on her way up the corporate ladder and her way up to success because she is a power coach and she has so much to help us with here today. So I'm very excited to hear what she has to say. But before we begin, we're going to play her introductory video, okay? And everybody, just stay tuned. All right. So, Miss Reeves, so did you like that introduction?
I loved it. You captured a lot of my journey. So, how are you?
I am well. How about you?
I'm well. I can't complain about a thing.
Yes, wonderful, wonderful. Well, some of the things that wasn't highlighted in the introduction of Miss Pamela Reaves, she is also a graduate of John Hopkins School of Real Estate as well, and she's worn many hats, like she always tells us. She wears many hats, and we just want to hear everything from her, her journey, how she's doing now, the beautiful things that is happening in her life and how she made it from where she used to be to where she is now. And I'm sure the journey wasn't easy. And, here again, we all want to be better than we were yesterday. So we just, want to hear her story because we know stories inspire others and we love to hear stories as well. So, Pam, first of all, please tell us your humble beginnings. Just tell us a little bit about who Pamela Reaves has been, growing up, the young lady, the little girl, the family background, the beautiful parents I'm sure you have because you're a beautiful person. And you didn't get to be this beautiful by yourself. So shall we begin? We're gonna start with that.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. We were just together a few days ago, and it's always wonderful to be with you, Sandy.
Yeah.
And thank you for inviting me to tell the story, my humble beginnings. You have to know the beginning to appreciate who I am now. And I will say that I will let your viewing audience know that I am the youngest of 14 children. And my parents were very humble people, but my platform, All About Power, is I got that from my parents because they were humble people. And growing up in their home, they always talked about, they were people of faith. So they always talked about the power of God. And because if a message is going to stick, it has to be presented in multiple platforms. So in every part of their lives, even though they were considered poor, but I will say that was only in terms of monetary, they always spoke of the power of God. So, as the youngest of 14, I can truly say I never knew this is how the power of God worked in their lives. I did not know that I was in poverty until I was an adult. I never felt it. My father
Power of God.
had formerly an education at the second grade level. But my father worked at a steel mill called Bethlehem Steel Company. My father purchased land during the Great Depression. So think about that period of time, a Black man who had very limited formal education, but he credits the power of God with, and he was self-taught. He taught himself to read and to write.
Wow.
And so he worked for this company for approximately 40 years.
Okay.
And as I say, during that time, he was able to purchase land during the Great Depression. And off of that land, he grew vegetables. And so that's how he fed this large family. He sold those vegetables. My father raised hogs and he sold that to the marketplace. And so, with all of those children and living in the inner city, I can truly say that we were never on public assistance. We never went hungry. And that's why I can truly say that he and my mother never allowed us to feel the sting of poverty. I did not know that I was a child raised in poverty. I did not know that until I made money, until I started doing well, and then could, just look back and go back to my past. And so, as I said, I learned power from them. My mother was a self-taught seamstress. So even though I lived in the inner city, I came from this family with a bunch of kids. I always dressed fashionably.
Yeah.
She was creative. And my mother took this inner city home, and inside she just did phenomenal things with it. So as I said, these two humble people, they always spoke of the power of God, and they attributed that for the things that they accomplished, notwithstanding their humble beginnings.
Yes.
And so hearing that and seeing that, the word power resonated with me and it stuck with me. And so that's why to this day, that is my platform, because I see what living from a position of power can do in your life. Most people are surprised when I share the story that I'm sharing with you, because people have their own interpretations about who you are.
That's true.
And one of the things that you see and that is attractive about me is my humility. But that's where that comes from, because I saw and I witnessed and I was nurtured by these humble people who were able to just, accomplish phenomenal things for Black people living through the Depression, coming from the segregated South, raising this large family, and just still being demonstrative of the power of God in their lives. And so I know that when you assume power, when you claim it, when you acknowledge it, that there is nothing that can stop you, nothing or no one. Because once you acknowledge your power,
yes,
that is the beginning. That's the stepping stone. That's what you will walk in. Your vocabulary will be one of power. And so at some point, it becomes a part of you. It is not theater. You've known me for a while, and you know that the word that consistently comes up about me is power.
yes, it is.
And I don't even have to say it, but that's because I acknowledge that. I embraced it years ago, and I've lived my life that way. And when I power coach, that's how I work with people, that at some point, this will be like breathing,
Yes.
walking in your power, operating from a position of power. It will not be theater. It will not be a struggle, but in time, it is who you are. It will be as easy as breathing.
Ooh.
We should never accept that power is reserved for a select few. All of us have power. When we are in crisis, Sandy, A lot of times we will sit back and say something to the effect, I don't know where that came from. I don't know how I got out of that. Yes, I will tell you, it was already there. You had to tap into it. We do that in a crisis, but we can learn to do that so that it is second nature. We don't have to wait for a crisis to exercise our power. We can do that in every part of our lives.
Yes. Wow. Now, I know all of you guys need to take a breather right now, but listen, she just told us, and some of our past guests have said the same thing that Pam has just mentioned. We all have it within us. We all have it, Pam. And
Yes.
thank you for bringing that out even further.
Yes. We do have it. Almost every comment I'll make, every piece of advice I'll offer, operate from a position of power, because people know it when they see it.
Yes.
When it's authentic.
Yes.
And all of us have that. When I say walk in it, I mean to figuratively as well as literally. When you walk into a room, people should not only see you, they should feel you. And when you are powerful, when you leave that indelible impression.
Wow. Now, is she operating in power?
Yes.
That, yes. And we can see it all over you. Yes.
Yeah.
So let us know, how did you exercise your power in your career? In the area of, you've accomplished so much. So how did you just walk us through it a little bit? How did these steps become? I know you were walking in power, Pam, but how did you manage?
It's always been a part of me. And I'm going to tell you this story before I get to the corporate part.
Okay, go ahead.
I used to have the same woman who did my hair for years. And one Saturday, my appointments were always on Saturdays. So one Saturday I went, and this was years after, this is when I'm in the corporate arena. But one Saturday, there was a woman that I went to high school with there. So we started to catch up with each other and about, well, what are you doing now? And I had to laugh because she said, even in high school, she knew I was a corporate woman.
Wow. She saw it in. Yeah, that was that power.
So when it's a part of you, that's why I say people know it. I wasn't aware of that when I was that age. I did, I graduated from high school when I was 16 years old.
Okay.
And but this years later, this classmate said that I was a corporate woman even when we were in high school.
Wow.
So the things that you do well, and that's what I would say, don't spread yourself too thin. Do what you do best and leave the rest to the subject matter experts. And so when I was in high school, I was on work study. And remember, I'm 16 years old, 15 and 16 years old. So my first job was in the principal's office. And so I started to actually be assimilated into an office environment, even when I was in high school. And then when I went to college, of course, work study was part of that. And once again, it was in offices. So I was always in the office environment.
Yes.
And I'm a visionary. And I will say this about visionaries. They see their future long before they step into it.
Yes.
They see it in detail. And after I graduated from college, one of the professors and I had lunch, went back to visit. And once again, it was the catch up. What are you doing now with your life? And when I explained to him everything that I was doing, he said, you did every single thing that you said to me in class when you were in college.
No. And you didn't remember?
No. Wow. He said, you've done every single thing that you told me you were going to do when you were in college. And this was when I was in my 20s.
And that's what people operating in power
Double
do.
do. So it's innate. Part of it is innate,
Mhm.
but even if it's
Mhm.
natural, you still have to take the steps to shore it up. You
Yes.
still have to do things. You have to educate yourself. You have to take the time to not be afraid to envision what others would think that's just too great.
Yes.
And so so after college, I did work for the state of Maryland for about 4 years
Mhm.
and almost 5 years. But then that restlessness came about. And I remember having conversations with individuals who have been working for the state of Maryland much longer than I.
Uh-huh.
And they would always say things like, well, I've been here 10 years, so I may as well stay.
Mm.
And I don't know what government employment is like now, but back then there were incremental steps and
Mhm.
8 incremental steps and in a pay grade. And then within that pay grade, there are 8 incremental steps.
Uh-huh.
And even that young, that was just too restrictive for me.
Mm.
I was like, this isn't me.
Yeah.
So I decided once again,
Yeah.
I'm going to leave state government before I get to that point where I will feel like them. I've
Mm.
been here 10 years, I may as well. So
Mhm.
that's when I left government working. And the first job after that was and during that time, it was HR, then finance. And then when I left state government, I went to work for Amtrak.
Okay.
Started out at the Penn Station in Baltimore, Maryland. But while I was on a tour, my first day, when I got back, the HR manager called me into his office because when I first went into the railroad, I
Uh-huh.
went in as a union employee. And most people, that's how you come in, that's how you break into that.
Right.
So while I was on tour, one woman who had been out decided to come back and she was union. So she bumped me out of the position.
Yeah. Mm.
And once again, it was the hand of the creator at work. The director of HR said, I have some friends in corporate in DC in
Mm.
labor relations, and they owe me, and you can go on an interview if you like. And
Mhm.
I said to him, get me the interview, I'll do the rest.
Oh, wow.
And I got the interview, and I remember that year, it was the day after Christmas. I started commuting on Amtrak's train from downtown Baltimore to Washington, D.C.
Mm.
So then, and with Amtrak and their corporate, it was the corporate labor relations department.
Mhm.
And that was the final appellate level of with labor relations. And so I learned so much during that period. That's when I started to hone my negotiating skills,
Mm.
um, arguing arguments before the public law board. So that's where we used to get together, have public law boards, and preparing submissions, which are really like an argument, like an attorney would do. So
Right.
I was in corporate labor relations for 2 years.
Mhm.
And I was really young and I was like, I want to go back to Baltimore because I want to be able to party after work. This commuting is killing me. All I do is sleep, and I was such a sleepyhead. I used to tell all my friends, do not call me during the week. I just commute on the train to DC. And when
Mhm.
I get home, I just want to go to bed so I can get up again and get the train in the morning.
Mhm.
So I was getting a little bit tired of that.
Mhm.
And so I decided to come back to Baltimore. And
Mhm.
the company was called Commercial Credit at the time.
Mhm.
And so I went back to HR and
Mm.
human resources. And I wasn't there a year before this gentleman by the name of Sanford Weill, who was this Wall Street giant. Um,
Okay.
he left American Express
Uh-huh.
and he purchased
Uh-huh.
commercial credit and took the company public. And so it
Right.
became a publicly traded company.
Right. Okay.
And I was in HR, and I remember this once again, the power of God working in my favor. And when you present yourself as a powerful person,
Right.
And everyone was excited about these New York executives coming to Baltimore. So we were all asking about, well, how could we work with them? And I went to the HR VP and told her I was interested. And I don't know what happened with that. Well, one day, Sandy, she asked me to go to the executive suite. This was on the 18th floor, to sit at the receptionist's desk. I was so furious. I was so furious. Like, how dare you just feel that I can go into the executive suite to sit at a receptionist's desk? I was furious. So I went and I had this horrible, horrible attitude sitting at the desk. Well, that was her mistake, because this group of executives noticed me at this desk.
Uh-huh.
And so they went to her boss, who was the senior executive vice president,
Mm-hmm.
and asked, who was this woman? And he called me up to the 18th floor. When I walked into the office, he had a newspaper. Back in those days, when you were looking for a job, the good ones were only identified by a number. The companies didn't identify themselves publicly.
Uh-huh.
So when I walked in, he said, do you like your job? And the first thing I thought, oh my God, I sent my resume back to the same company I work for. That's what I thought. I was caught. I thought I was caught. So I had to come up with something diplomatic. And so I just said, well, I like the people, but the job is not challenging enough. And he said, well, I have some people that want to meet you. I met with these executives.
Mm-hmm.
And so after I left, I went back down to HR. He calls me. He said, well, how did you like it?
Uh-huh.
I said, it was okay. He said, well, they loved you and they want you to work with them. They, know nothing about Baltimore.
Right.
And I was a little bit intimidated because the woman who they wanted to replace had been known as a powerhouse in this company.
Mm.
And I will say, even the company was started in 1912.
Mm-hmm.
And I think only before me, I think only one African American had ever been on that floor that whole time. So I was a little bit shy about all of that. And I said to him, I said, well, you know what? Let me just try it one day and we'll see how it goes. So he was like, you can't do that. Just tell them you want to try. Do you know who these people are? Well, because I was still young and brash, I said, well, those are my conditions. Bye. So he called once again, operating from a position of power, even as a very young woman.
Right.
He called back later. He said, they want you to come up. They're willing to try it. So I did for a week. And near the end of the week was when, and these guys were so savvy and so polished. Near the end of the week, we were in one office, and to make me feel comfortable, they were sitting down. Well, one guy was sitting on the floor. I was sitting in the chair. And finally, they were candid. They finally came out and said, we understand that you don't want to come up here for some reasons. And it was, you will be okay. We got you. And Sandy, it was the most amazing experience in my entire life to work with these individuals. They are, well, a lot of them are retired. They are some of the most celebrated Wall Street executives that I worked with closely. And, for a while there, when they started to go back to New York to establish the Wall Street presence, I used to go to New York to work with them there. That's how much they thought of me with that, and so I worked. And I remember one general counsel said to me in a meeting, he said, you have learned from the best. One of them now, as you may be familiar with this name, we were in our 20s when we met, Jamie Dimon.
Yes.
Who is the most powerful. Jamie Dimon. I think he was 28 and I was 27. He was the CFO.
Wow.
Jay Fishman, he's passed away, but he was the chairman of MetLife. Stanford Wiles, Google him. If you Google these names, you will see what a blessing that was. And it was later that My mom admitted to me, she said, I knew you were nervous. She said, but I prayed for the favor of God upon your life.
Oh, wow.
And so that
Great.
experience prepared me for everything. I've been able to handle everything. If
Yeah.
I could work with these men and be highly regarded, and here I am from this very humble beginning, from this very humble beginning, and I'm working with a group of Wall Street executives who are impressed by me,
Yeah.
and that's why I say that it's not reserved for a select few.
Mm.
People will know when it's authentic and
Yes.
will treat you accordingly.
Yeah.
They will know when it's, and that was, as I said, that experience. So when they were positioned now in on Wall Street, there
Hmm.
was the offer for me to relocate. Well, I'm a mommy's girl, and she knew it. And
Hmm.
actually, there was no, she was such a sweet woman, but she was not shy. She was like, I don't want you to go. And my sisters were like, girl, let her go. Let her go. Like, I don't want her to go. So I did not go with them.
Yeah.
So what they did, they asked me what I wanted to do and whatever direction I wanted to go, and they would support me.
Hmm.
And that's when I went into real estate. And they were true to their word. They supported me. Jay Fishman was the person who convinced me to go to NYC to that real estate program. So yeah, they really supported. They really supported me. They
Right.
developed me. They developed me. And I guess that's why I appear to be such a disciplined person
Yes.
corporate. And to be honest, I've had challenging experiences, but
Mm-hmm.
from that, I have feared nothing. I have feared nothing in the
That is
corporate environment. I have
wow.
feared nothing.
Wow.
And so I've been in corporate real estate for about 30 years now.
Mm.
Yeah. And even when I was still with Citigroup, when those men had gone on, I wound up managing an intra departmental group called it was lease and contract administration. So
Mm-hmm.
I managed that group. When I left that position, we had a contingent liability. I was handling a portfolio $84 million,
Wow.
with 2,400 locations.
Mm.
And then I went to a company called oh my God, what was that company called? Oh, it escapes me. I was there for Prime Retail. I was
Okay.
there for about a year, and then I left and went with Kimco, who is the country's largest developer and
Yes.
real estate, developer and owner of shopping centers. So from the corporate real estate department, I've actually, you know,
Mm-hmm.
presented for the tenant as well as the landlord. So I can come to the table and negotiate from either side.
Yes. Yes.
As I started to age, once again, being a forethinker, I'm like, okay, I live well. I've done very well in corporate. I don't ever want to have to compromise my standard of living. So
Yeah.
I started thinking, what can I start doing to prepare for
Mm-hmm.
when I leave corporate?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I became a certified professional coach.
Mm.
That's why I started writing books.
Yeah.
That's why I created my own skincare line. All of these things were after 50 because I learned so much. And I actually will advise this to small business owners. If you have any experience in a large corporation,
Mm-hmm.
use that as your benchmark.
Listen.
What I do
Mm-hmm.
in my business is how I handle it in corporate. You just learn how to scale it back, but
Exactly.
you can operate your small business just like a large corporation.
Yeah. You can. You really
Yeah,
can. Exactly.
yeah,
You really can. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes. And that's what I got a client now that I tell them the same thing. That's what you need to do. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yeah. Don't always think of it. It's small, it's a business. Whatever policies, whatever procedures,
Exactly.
whatever resources, however they do however they operate that large organization, you can operate your small business just like that. and people will see the difference. You know how, sometimes when you and I have been working on things, and if I respond, I'll say, Sandy, change the font. It needs to be, get rid of that. That's from that corporate experience, not too many curves and all of that. That's where all of that comes from.
Okay.
That's where that comes from.
Because it's not so fancy with the core.
Right.
I got you. Yeah.
Right. That's where that comes from. But, I'm also gracious enough, you'll know that I'll say for mine, I won't tell you to do that for yours, because it's yours. However you want to present it, it's yours. But that is why I'll come back, for me, because I'm very regimented in that way.
Yeah.
I'm very regimented in that way.
It's not a problem.
So I have always been attracted to what is powerful. That's just who I am. What I do know, and I will, give this advice to anyone, and I think most of us know this, there's nothing wrong with exercising your power. The problem comes in when you abuse your power. Short of that, there's nothing wrong with exercising your power in every part of your life. We were created by an all-powerful being. So that is part of us, who we are. It's there. We have to go and get it. Inside. We have to go inside to get it.
Yes, without laying out everything that in your coaching program. Now, if somebody come to you and you have to work with them, just name a couple of name something that you would have to do with them to work with them if they just not ready, out at all.
The first thing, remember, this is power coaching. The first thing we do is identify your fail-proof power source. Your power source is what drives you, what motivates you. And if it's fail-proof, then you have that assurance that when you're exercising your power, the power source won't give out on you. So that's the first thing, because I always default back to my power source. So that's the first thing. If you're going to live from a position of power, you have to know where that power comes from.
Yeah, that's right.
And if you want to maintain your position of power, it has to be fail-proof.
That's right.
So that's the first thing that we do. And so and then it's a series of exercises getting people comfortable with power. Because sometimes we shy away. That's why I have to keep saying it's not reserved for a select few. Don't shrink. And, I could never do that. I could never be that. Yes, you can. Be anything that you want to, as long as you have a fail-proof power source. But the very first thing is identify what is your power source. Assess it, because some of us may just grab anything out of the air and say, this is going to be my power source.
Right.
But you have to assess that. And, the other thing that a new client that we have to be clear on is that you do want to live and enjoy your life from a position of power, that you're not afraid of that. That you will understand it may not be easy, but that's what power is all about. Life is not always easy. So what you need to get you through life, there's this saying we talk about, you hear just about every speaker, every facilitator, like the abundant life, Well, abundance by definition is a whole lot. If you're going to handle a whole lot of anything, you need power.
Woo, don't you?
you need power. You need might. You need muscle. You need grit. So you're going to need all of that. I want an abundant life. I want abundance. That's a whole lot. That means you want a whole lot of something. And so you're going to need power to do that. So you have to be serious about that.
Exactly. Yes.
You have to be committed to that. You have to be honest about what that means.
Yes.
That, power doesn't always mean that you are infringing upon somebody else's territory. It doesn't mean that you're always going to win like we may think what winning is, because there is the power of walking away. There is the power of silence. And sometimes we think those two things mean we don't win, but that's not. When you learn how to operate from a position of power, you understand and you know when to exercise it, and you know when to exercise restraint.
Mm-hmm. When you decided that you said you were after, it was after 50 that you start doing things in the
Right.
arena, right? Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So what did you along the way, did you get bored with corporate, or you just decide that you were gonna want to do something else later?
No. I still have a very illustrious corporate life.
Yeah. Okay.
And I've learned so much on how to handle a lot of situations because they actually know a little bit about my business.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah.
And so when you establish yourself,
Yes.
and you are known for your power and you are known for your performance, because that's one of the things, even when I manage groups, I always say we are going to be peak performers. That's what I like. I like to see people really great at what they do.
Exactly.
Everybody that I've managed over the years, they're doing phenomenally well in other companies.
Wow.
And so I did not get bored. It was just being a forethinker about the aging process, about what happens, what am I going to do when one day I do leave corporate. That's what those thoughts started to, the aging process. We will reflect on our lives as we age as well as we should.
Right.
You should think, you should not just stumble through life and, let the chips fall where they may. And so it was always on my mind, like, what do you do when you leave here? How do you maintain your level of living? And so really the coaching was like a natural progression because I had managed people. I had developed real estate negotiators, real estate professionals. I had developed them. There were a group of African American, other managers in corporate, and of course, when we saw them come into that environment, we wanted them to do well. So when you stay in that mode for years, coaching is a natural progression.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And so that's, how I decided to become a coach. And then I wanted a resource. So that gave me the idea for my first book. I wanted something to go with the coaching practice because when I first started coaching, it was just devoted to relationship coaching.
Exactly.
And that was because I felt, and it had been my experience, that your relationships, they impact everything you do. And there is a relationship among our relationships. Your personal life will find its way into your professional life.
Yes.
And vice versa.
Yes. I've heard you speak about that when I came to your workshop that time.
Yeah. I had managed a woman who was very, very good at what she did. But she was having problems in her personal life. And that it overtook everything. And it distracted her to the point where I kept trying to hold on because she was so good at what she was doing. And it was finally my managers, second and third level managers, were, you have to do something about this. And when I called her in, it was so sad. She cried so hard, but I had been given a directive. So I had to act on that. And that was one of the things that I've never forgotten, that, she didn't know how to handle that. Now, since I grew up with 9 brothers, I sort of always knew how to handle guys, and I can remember in her I forgot where her parents were. I think it was from Lithuania or something like, because she always spoke of the old country. And I remember one time I said, well, just shut him down. And she said to me, what does that mean? See, something like that was totally foreign to her. She
Right.
said, what do you mean shut him down?
Yeah.
Well, since she didn't even know the basics, I couldn't go there. But that interfered with her professional life so much that she lost her job. And in working in large corporations, she wasn't the only one. I've seen that happen a lot. And so, as I said, that's why one of the things I wanted to do was to work with people to get them to understand, the dynamics of relationships and how they impact every part of your life.
It does.
Yeah. And so the first book that I wrote was a relationship book.
Yeah.
And just evolving over the years, and people always attaching me to power.
Yeah.
That's when I decided, then I shifted, because even when you power coaching, you still can incorporate relationship into that type of coaching.
Exactly.
Yeah. So all of those things happened after the age of 50, but it was not because I was bored with corporate. And, I'm one of those people who believe in multiple income streams.
Oh, yes. That's right. And
I believe in multiple income streams, because once again, this is just who I am.
Yeah.
It's always to have that safety net, if things slack in one area, it picks up in the other. And so I learned that in corporate. That's why a lot of large corporations have different areas, with under that umbrella. So as I said, I've learned to take those things that I apply in my corporate life, which I excel at, and I apply those in my small business model.
Yes. Yes. And you stressed earlier about,
Mm-hmm.
making sure that we take something from our corporate world and put it into our
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And and preserve that relationship. If you're going to do something on you, they will know about it. As I said, my company knows. I remember there's something yearly that's called ICSC. That's the International Shopping Center, something like that. That everybody goes to, all tenants, national tenants. And I remember when one of the leasing people was there, somebody else asked him what was he doing next. It's always held in Las Vegas, and he said, "I'm reading Pam's book." And then there was another meeting. Somebody else told me it was the development group, the people that develop shopping centers. And they had a development meeting. And, in the Q&A section, it was just a little fun, let's do some trivial things. One of the questions was, well, who is a published author? And nobody guessed it. It was me, because they feel I'm just so super serious in that world.
Right.
But they know. And so I've been asked to represent the company in another venture. There's an organization out there that it has to do with people from the corporate world actually coaching small business people. And the company that I worked for, they are one of the sponsors. And one year, they asked me to present them and, make a presentation at this annual event. So if you maintain who you are and your integrity, they won't have a problem with it, and, you can also consider them as one of your potential clients.
Exactly.
That's another reason why it is important to preserve the relationship. That's a potential client, a big client. They know you, where it may be impossible to approach another large company.
Right.
All you need is that entree into one.
Exactly, because they already know you.
That's right. They know your value, what you bring to the table. So I would always encourage individuals, if you're in that environment and you want to leave, make sure that you preserve the integrity of that relationship.
Exactly. It happens all the time. Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. Who do you think, like a lot of clients that you work with, do you work with any of them like in the coaching arena or area? Do you work with any of them like in far as like in the like a lot of leaders that come to you for coaching, because seem like sometimes that would be leaders would be the ones that need to kind of come, although they are positioned in power, but they still need to
Yeah, yeah.
sometimes.
Actually, mine they run the gambit. When
Okay.
I was in relationship coaching, this is what's interesting. Most of the clients were men.
Mm, mm,
And
okay.
I attribute that to, because see, once again, relationships impacting other relationships.
Right.
Since I was born into a family of all these men,
Mm-hmm.
always comfortable with
Mm,
that, in that setting.
right.
So that actually resonated
Mm-hmm.
with men,
You can.
because she's not judging me.
Mm-hmm.
She's not going to get emotional because we don't have that type of relationship. So
Right.
she's really going to actually, Sandy, this isn't new with me. She's actually going to give me the truth unfiltered.
That's
They
yeah.
knew that. And
Mm-hmm.
so that was, and actually just last week I posted, no, my photographer posted some photos of our latest photo shoot.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And one of the celebrity makeup artists that works with some of his clients, she
Mm-hmm.
happens to see the posting,
Uh-huh.
and she gave a shout out, and she said, to the baddest life coach on the planet.
I
So
think I
it
saw
makes
that post.
and,
I think I
and
saw it.
you saw that
I think I
that
saw
she,
that
she was
comment.
she was one of my clients years ago.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
that makes
yes. I remember seeing that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes you feel great when that
Yeah.
person say that, because I remember, and I promised her this, and this is what I promised all of my clients. I promise you that I won't back up, I won't back down, and I won't back out until we break through.
All right.
That's it. Yeah, yeah. As
All
long
right.
as I'm assertive, I'm tenacious. I'm going to hang in there. We are going to break through
Yeah.
so that you can get to that place where you are living your life from a position of power. And guess what? And when you are truly powerful, you don't mind
Mm.
sharing power with others,
Yes.
because you realize the power of synergy as
Yeah.
well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've done group coaching.
Yeah.
I've done it for churches. I've done it for couples,
We had a conversation on the phone the other night, and you end up going in coaching mode with me.
Yeah. 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 Because it's what I love,
Yeah.
because I just want people to do well in
Yeah.
everywhere. And when you are confident and comfortable in your own skin,
Mm-hmm.
you want people to do well, and I will say that, I have a heart. I have a heart. So that's why when you and I started that conversation, it wound up in the coaching mode.
Yeah.
It comes naturally. And remember, since I was raised in a large family, dealing with so many personalities,
Yes.
that does come naturally.
Yes.
That does come naturally. And so I enjoy it. I enjoy. I do the things that I like, because I know that if I'm doing what I like, I will be good at it.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate. And remember the other day when you were asking me about how do we avoid some of the things that we get faced with. And I told you, you start preparing long before you're faced with that issue.
Yeah.
And so if you're always working on personal development, if you're always working on empowerment, if you're always being honest to about who you are, you're preparing yourself for so many things. You're preparing. So when they come, it's not that they don't impact you. It's just that you respond a different way, because all along you have been committed to being the best version of you that you can be. So then it's not hard because you don't have to all of a sudden jump up on stage and try to be another version, a better version. You are well practiced. You are well suited. You are well accomplished in being the best version of you. Almost everything I have been in situations, I can remember a time when I was going to have a conference call, and initially everybody didn't think it was going to go in my favor. But I can remember when I told a colleague, when I go in, I have to go in from a position of power.
Mm-hmm.
See, I made up my mind with that.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, by the time we got into that conference call, they were asking the other guy, well, were you sure you were on the other conference? Because it seems like you're missing some things. But it's like that, it comes with me. It's natural now, you know. And when I make that statement, it is not about beating up the other person. It is not about hijacking their space or their position. What I mean is that I'm coming in, I'm going to exercise power. I'm going to get the results. I'm going to have the influence that I want to get my desired results, even if I have to exercise the power of walking away or the power of silence, because I still can get what I want with with either one of those things. Because listen, you cannot lose an argument that you never participated in.
Ooh. You can. Ooh.
That's the power of silence.
That's powerful.
You cannot lose an argument that you never participated in.
Wow, that's powerful.
And that's why one of the most powerful comebacks now, when people approach you, you don't, you know, with negativity or an argument, you can just be basic and say, we are not having this conversation. And in most cases, they're going to walk away. When you say something that basic, we are not having this conversation. But as I say, remember, you cannot lose an argument you never participated in.
That's a moment of silence. A moment of silence.
Something to consider.
That is something to consider.
Yeah.
Woo! Pam, that did something to me now.
Yeah. That's what my coaching clients get when we are working together.
Yes.
You know, to bring things to the forefront of the mind that are simple, but we're also busy. You may not have thought about that.
I'm telling you, I'm sure that a lot of others hadn't thought about it.
No, because we tend to think once I shut up, but that means I lost. It doesn't. So look, so do you stay in the argument until they obliterate you?
Yeah.
Or do you exercise power and you walk away on your own terms?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Woo, that would save a lot.
Yeah, let's start looking at power in some different ways. And that's how it is possible to live your life from a position of power in every part of your life. In every part of your life.
That is power there. I don't know. Wow. And like you said, some of us have to get there, but that is the best place to be right there.
Yes.
Making a decision.
Yep. A conscious decision. You know, don't be afraid of it. Don't apologize for it. You were created with power for a reason, you know, so we have to exercise that, you know, we have to say, work until power becomes your law of attraction.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
You know, and mentioning that, something in those lines, how do you think, okay, you say operating in power, what do you think operating in power can do for someone that is seeking something, like not material things, it's like someone is seeking, if they're struggling in their entrepreneur journey. I mean, I know you've touched on a lot of things,
Yeah.
but very specifically, how can a person, trying to work this thing right, how can a person just really operating in their power, how can they conquer all of, not all of them, but some of the things that
That come with being an entrepreneur?
yeah.
Well, let's say this. Here's one thing area I'll go with. Image.
Mm.
Image. And
Mm.
we tend to think that image is one dimensional, that is only about appearance.
Yeah.
And then because it's gotten that negative rap, some people don't want you to be about image, but image does matter. And so one of the ways that you can help yourself in your entrepreneurial journey is to start working, developing, and maintaining your image. Image is not only appearance, but it's vocabulary, it's
Mm-hmm.
communication, it's
Mm-hmm.
confidence,
Mm-hmm.
it's all of those things. And the reason why that's important is because now let's go back to just appearance. When
Mm-hmm.
people first see you, they do judge you on by what they see.
That's true. Mm-hmm.
We may say that's unfair. It's much more to me than that. But guess what? If they've only known you for a few seconds, they have nothing else to go on. They have nothing else to go on. So when they first meet you, they come to a conclusion based on what they see, the physical you.
Mm-hmm.
When they get to know you, then it's based on who they see, what comes from outside, inside, the rest of you.
Yeah.
So you can start by working on you.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that your apprehensions that are not because you just don't feel like you are at a certain standard.
Mm-hmm.
We do a lot when we're confident.
Yeah.
If you're not confident,
Yeah.
I actually, I had this thought a couple of months ago. And so I've started teaching on this as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's not only about skill set,
Mm-hmm.
it's also mindset.
Yes.
So you can have all the skill set you want, but if you don't have the mindset, you're not going to go far.
Mm.
That's why sometimes when we see these stories about athletes,
Mm-hmm.
how did they mess up? They had all this money. They were so good. And then when some of the backstory come out, you start hearing about troubled youth,
Yeah.
growing up in certain environments. Well, the mindset may not have changed.
Yes.
And so that we have to make sure that our mindset is matching the skill set.
Like
So,
they say, sometimes you can take the child out of the country, but you can't take the country out of
right,
the person or something.
right,
Yeah.
right. Because if I still have this mindset
Mm-hmm.
that, let's say if I'm super wealthy, but I still have an impoverished mindset, I'm going to do things that impoverished people do.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, I'm going to do something that's going to impact my purse.
Mm-hmm.
So
Like
that's when the mindset hasn't caught up with the skill set.
Mm-hmm.
So this power thing starts with you first. See, you have to make sure that you are, get this, that you are in a position to live from a position of power. And the way you position yourself is to work on you in every aspect. If you want to do something, or am I equipped to do it? Even if I don't have everything, but am I on the right path? Critical thinking, learn discipline where it's necessary and learn flexibility where it's necessary. So I think what the bottom line is that this is an ever evolving phenomenon that we have to be in. Never believe that you have it made. Never believe that you can't be stretched or directed somewhere else. But it all starts with you.
Yes.
People are going to respond to you.
Mm-hmm.
And if we are not clear about who we are not confident in our power, you may be tested. Now,
Mm-hmm.
you may be tested anyway. There are times when I'm tested, but yeah, I don't stress with that because I know that within a few minutes, you're going to learn about who you're dealing with.
I love that one.
So you can be calm.
Yeah.
Even in the corporate environment, now they have this, when they describe me, it's
Mm-hmm.
Zen. But that's because from experience that in years that I've learned not to allow things to upset me, that I am confident in my power, that I do know that I don't have to fight for power. See,
Mm-hmm.
all of those things. So then in a world where everything is still sort of like chaotic,
Right.
okay, I do stand out as this Zen, there's Zen. But that's just over the years. It doesn't happen overnight that I am confident in my power. I
Mm-hmm.
believe in my platform.
Mm-hmm.
I'm committed to that. And
Mm-hmm.
so it does come, but all of us have to put in the work on ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We have to put in that work on ourselves so that because we hear this all the time. We teach people how to treat
Treat
us,
others. Yeah.
so when they learn that you are confident in who you are
Mm-hmm.
and you are assertive about that, okay, they know that they have to engage with you in a certain way if they're going to engage at all.
That's right.
You
Yeah.
know, even in our social media,
Said it
if
mouth.
you have a lot of chaos going on your page, you are telling people that this is welcomed here.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
yeah, you are telling people you're welcomed here.
I
And
said
so I'm conscious that I'm very conscious of what I allow and what I put up.
exactly.
Because I am telling you, and you have to be consistent with
Mm-hmm.
that. And
Yes.
so you are teaching them if their behavior, whether or not it's going to be welcomed.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't want to friend me or you unfriend me because you feel that I'm too strict or I'm not playful enough,
Mm-hmm.
that's fine too. Because
Exactly.
that just means we weren't made for each other. And guess what? And this on both sides, this is the process of elimination as
Mm-hmm.
to who should be close to you, which
Exactly.
is a good thing because at some point you're going to be surrounded with people who are like-minded. See, the other type is not going to want to come around you. And
Exactly.
that's fine. That's what you want. So then you're not going to be having all of these hostile exchanges. And, when I hear about really knockdown, drag out fights among friends, that's totally foreign to me. I
Mm-hmm.
don't have those
Yeah.
types of women in my life.
Exactly. Yes.
I don't have that.
Yes.
And so that's the other way that you discover and you maintain peace
Mm-hmm.
because your relationships are peaceful.
Yes.
Your friends are peaceful.
So they won't
Yeah.
attract.
Even if you disagree, that disagreement is worked out in a certain way
Yes.
because you both respect each other and know what
Mm-hmm.
you stand for. So all of these things in every part of your life, they impact each other and
Mm-hmm.
they actually impact your journey. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that you eliminate people who are negative.
Yeah.
You eliminate people who
Yes.
are really not serious about the things that you are serious with. Then you know who to partner with. I mean,
Exactly.
you and I have known each other for a while. So when we came up with the idea to do the Truth Unfiltered,
Mm-hmm.
it flowed.
Yeah.
Remember I said the truth flows?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so we know each other and we're familiar with each other and we have so many similarities in
Yes.
who we are, what we accept and what we will reject in our lives. When we partnered, it
Yeah.
was not struggling.
Yeah.
It was not struggling.
Yeah.
because we have already established that we have so many things in common that this would work well.
Exactly. Yeah. You're
And
telling
when you do that in all of your relationships, you know,
you.
there will be hiccups here and there, but they are minimal.
Yeah. Compared to, like you said, when you connecting with somebody that's totally opposite.
Right, 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 right. And it's okay if that doesn't work out, because for both individuals, that is really just the process
Yeah.
of elimination. There's no need to be angry once you decided this isn't going to work and we're
Right.
not going to have a relationship. What
Right.
you both have accomplished is that it's the process of elimination.
Yeah. That's even, like you said, even relationships
Yeah,
fail and
yeah,
fail.
yeah,
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 you have to
yeah,
process of elimination. That is for
yes,
sure. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, Pam, I tell you, this has been awesome and an amazing. I mean, you've shared so much with us because we see you out here and we know that you are a woman in a position of power because we can see it radiate all over you. I mean, you are. Seriously, and you're not. You know what you see is what you get
yes.
with you.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is. You know, I have a friend who says periodically, two friends, one is male and one is female.
Uh-huh.
They will say, "You are who you say you are."
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Some
and,
people.
and you know, and actually, I get that from that humble man who had um, that second grade education. My father always said,
Yeah.
"Whatever you do, be for real."
Wow. Yeah. Let it be real. Yeah.
Yeah, he said,
Let it go.
whatever you do,
Truth.
be for real."
Truth. Yeah.
Yeah.
The truth unfiltered.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely,
Yes, the
Cindy.
truth unfiltered. So yeah,
Absolutely.
so I am looking forward to our next. Got to do my research for our next our next episode. So
Oh,
we'll be
yes.
taking that one in the next few days. You just let me know.
Yeah, that is so much fun. It's
Yeah,
not only fun but it's substantive.
yeah.
And you know, I'm just looking forward
Mhm.
to, you know, future episodes and how we will be able to just enlighten people and make people comfortable with the truth and make them uncomfortable with lies.
Exactly,
Make
exactly.
them uncomfortable with lies.
It's time. It's time. It is time.
Yes,
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to be on the next I Push the Dream show. So I appreciate you,
yes.
Pam. I really do.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm so looking forward to Push the Dream University.
Yeah.
And one day when we'll all be able to get out again and
Yes.
come together. And
Yes.
when you have your next event, I am so forward looking to that.
Oh, yes. And look, I don't know about anybody else, but I'm going to be in Pam's room with the position of power. Definitely.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Give
yeah,
me some knowledge. But yeah, we're going to probably have breakout sessions in that, in
yes,
that one too. But thanks again, Pam. I appreciate you so much, and thank you for being that beautiful friend that we, like I said, we've been knowing each other for 5 years, and it's been synergy. Like
yes,
it's been so great to just have conversations with you sometime and just connecting in this way that we have connected. I am so grateful for God putting people in my life like
yes,
and I have a few other friends that is just like that, and it's just beautiful to have your latter days just in peace and harmony.
yes. It is. It is. It's
Yeah,
a wonderful, wonderful place to be.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, all righty. Well, I'm going to end the broadcast, and we will see you guys next time. And I hope if you have any questions for Miss Pam, you can use her links will be down and order her some of her skincare. You see how beautiful her face is. She has some beautiful skin, and
And one other thing, just stay tuned. I am getting ready to release. I'm still working on it, getting ready to release my novel,
yes,
The Emancipation of Scott Harrington. It's really
yes.
a thriller. It's really a thriller.
Woo!
So getting
Yes,
ready to release that.
yes.
Remember that.
And are you able to at liberty to say what you were working on before COVID, or you want to just wait on that?
No, well, I talk about it now because I don't know where it's going to go, but
Okay.
just everyone keep me in your prayers. But actually, I was working with a group, a small team in
Mhm.
Hollywood, and the emancipation of Scott Harrington was we were in the project, a film project, a
Mhm.
film project. The script is written, has already been written. The budget is done. The financial plan is done, and COVID hit. And we had had some A-list actors who were willing to read the script. COVID happened. I
Mhm.
don't know, if we'll, when we'll get that back on track. But
Yeah.
yes, it is such a hot story
Yeah.
that an entertainment attorney took on the project to bring it to film.
Yeah, yeah. So hopefully when everything is smoothing out with COVID, hopefully that you'll be back into production mode.
Yeah, yes, yeah,
Yeah,
that we will advance to that.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah, yeah,
yes.
yeah. Okay. All righty. Well,
All
thank you
right.
so
Thanks so
much.
much, Sandy.
All
It's
right.
always, always a pleasure.
Yeah, you too as well. Okay.
Okay.
All right.